In the early 2010s, the software industry underwent a major structural reorganization. Major vendors began moving away from physical, perpetual licenses on disks, transitioning their core products toward cloud-based subscriptions. For Adobe, the perpetual release model had hit a clear financial ceiling. By fiscal 2012, the company's revenue stalled at $4.4 billion, and quarterly earnings fluctuated significantly based on software release cycles. When Adobe announced it would stop selling perpetual licenses for its Creative Suite in 2013, the customer backlash was immediate. A Change.org petition demanding a reversal gathered over 50,000 signatures. This chart visualizes Adobe's revenue transition. From a $4.4 billion baseline in 2012, it curves sharply upward to $15 billion. The volatile spikes of periodic sales flatten into a smooth, predictable trendline. This is annual recurring revenue, which Adobe prioritized for long-term planning. Tiered pricing architecture lowered the entry barrier for new users, allowing a photographer to access Photoshop for $10 a month instead of a $700 upfront cost. While accessible in the short term, this model allows the vendor to capture significantly more lifetime value from professional users. While the shift to SaaS resolved revenue volatility for vendors, it effectively converted software from an owned asset into a leased utility, introducing new structural vulnerabilities for the end user. This licensing logic eventually expanded beyond digital suites and into physical machinery, as the line between hardware and embedded software began to blur. In 2016, John Deere implemented a new software user license agreement. Looking at the highlighted clauses, users were prohibited from reverse engineering the code or accessing the diagnostic tools necessary for independent repair. This created a legal paradox for the owner. A farmer could own the physical steel of the machine, but under the law, they possessed zero ownership of the software required to make the machine operate. This embedded software layer acts as a digital lock, separating the purchaser from the mechanical functions of their own property. The emergence of open-source alternatives in these sectors is a direct engineering reaction to this shift. The movement is driven not just by cost, but by a rejection of proprietary architectures that prioritize rent extraction over technical utility. Proprietary systems enforce their license agreements through technological protection measures, or TPMs. Architecturally, these function as digital toll booths within the software. In this proprietary stack diagram, red TPM barriers sit between software and hardware, blocking unvalidated physical repairs. Note the continuous signal looping to an external cloud. Systems require this cloud ping to authenticate subscriptions before local hardware can execute a command. An unpatchable hardware flaw in the AMD chips used by Tesla recently demonstrated the impact of these artificial restrictions. Features like heated steering wheels are physically present in the hardware, but locked behind a $300 paywall. Researchers used the chip flaw to bypass root software, severing the cloud authentication requirement and granting direct local access to the heating elements. These gates represent a calculated use of engineering resources in a proprietary system. Compute power and developer hours are often spent enforcing arbitrary access limits, rather than optimizing the core performance of the device. Open-source tools like VS Code and OBS Studio utilize a counter architecture designed to remove these barriers. This diagram shows the open-source alternative. Instead of gated barriers, the central hub uses direct API pathways. This architecture enables extensibility without permission, allowing users to route data and plugins without interference from a rights management layer. This also enables local execution. Unlike cloud-dependent platforms, self-hosted tools like Nextcloud operate entirely on the user's hardware. In this model, data flow stays within a local loop, maintaining absolute data sovereignty without an external cloud ping. By removing the requirement for external authentication, open-source architectures operate with lower overhead. They eliminate network latency and the risk of forced updates, prioritizing local execution over vendor-imposed validation. Proprietary ecosystems also carries the risk of a rug pull, where a vendor changes pricing or terms after a user base is already locked in. When the Unity game engine announced retroactive changes to its runtime fee structure, developers were suddenly faced with new, unpredicted costs for software already integrated into their products. This event drove significant interest in the Godot engine. Unlike Unity, Godot is governed by an MIT license, which offers a different structural guarantee. An MIT license prevents the software from being retroactively gated. It ensures the engine cannot be used as a lever to demand revenue sharing or implement arbitrary platform restrictions mid-development. For large-scale projects, technical sovereignty is a mandatory risk mitigation strategy. It ensures a project's foundation cannot be altered by a single corporation's pricing shifts. The precedent for user autonomy was established in 1984 with the Supreme Court ruling on the Betamax VCR. The core argument of that era was that technology should allow users to be active participants in their own lives, rather than just being programmed by others. In the decades since, that autonomy has eroded. Modern laws like the DMCA are now used to block users from performing standard maintenance or accessing the software in their own devices. This shift has led tech pioneers like Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak to support the right to repair movement, aiming to restore the level of hardware and software autonomy that defined the early computer industry. The right to repair and the move toward open source software are two parts of the same objective, reclaiming technical autonomy from restrictive licensing agreements. We can now see the emergence of a complete professional production pipeline. This is a sovereign stack, where every layer, from the Linux operating system to the Postgres database, is free from vendor-imposed locks. The shift is accelerating because of feature parity. When an open tool like Blender matches proprietary software like Maya, the primary reason for vendor lock-in disappears. Note the data flow in this architecture. Stripped of telemetry gathering and subscription checks, the stack operates with greater efficiency, isolated from external interference. This model provides the three necessities of professional work: data sovereignty, permissionless innovation, and reliability that does not depend on an internet connection. While proprietary models gate access, professional infrastructure gravitates toward open architectures. In high-stakes environments, technical sovereignty isn't a preference, it's a technical requirement.